Fabrizio Romano and other trusted sources have confirmed that Nicolas Jackson will leave Chelsea this summer. This hasn't come by surprise because since June, July, this story of Nicolas Jackson possibly leaving Chelsea has been developing, initially with the Juventus and I think AC Milan reported to show interest. Somewhere in July, Aston Villa were said to be interested in Nicolas Jackson, and now Newcastle are the front runners after missing out on Benjamin Sesko, and we all recall that earlier Alexander Isaka informed them that he wanted to explore other opportunities somewhere. Welcome to the channel, guys. Welcome to the new video. We saw Chelsea signing Liam Delap for 30 million from Ipswich. That was a communication to Nicolas Jackson that you're going to face some competition next season. And when the Club World Cup began, we saw both Nicolas Jackson and Liam Delap record or register an assist in that first game of the group where we were playing, I think, LAFC. Nicolas Jackson crafted a very good assist to Pedro Neto, which he converted, and then Liam Delap, who came on for Nicolas Jackson, I think after just half time, he also crafted a cross to Enzo Fernandez in that first game. In the following game, we lost that game to, was it Flamingo? Something like 3-1. But Nicolas Jackson got a red card in that game. Recall, he came on as a substitute to Liam Delap, who started in that game. And then after just 4 minutes, Jackson got sent off. And that was the last blow or the biggest blow to him, because he did not have any chance to impress that immediately or to compete with the Delap at least then. And during the Club World Cup, Chelsea went ahead and signed João Pedro, if you recall. João Pedro came and instantly impressed. He scored 2 goals in his first game. Sorry, he didn't score in the first game, but he was really impressive when he came on to replace Liam Delap. And then on his first start against his childhood club, Fluminense, he scored a brace. You recall those goals from nowhere. You can't say that maybe he had a very clear chance, but he scored them. And then in the final, you all saw what happened. He scored a very well-crafted dink on Donnarumma to make it 3-0 in that final. And his link up with Cole Palmer was also brilliant. So the question was Chelsea going to go into the new season with the 3 strikers? That was a hard one. The option would be if one of the strikers was going to play maybe from another position or off the wing. Like we know that João Pedro can play as a right winger, as a left winger, as a false 9, as a 10, but also as a number 9. So the available spot, at least at that moment, was the lefty wing role. We needed an extra left winger because Mikhail Mudryk was suspended, and then Jadon Sancho had returned to United, you all recall. But Chelsea went ahead and signed Jamie Gittens, and from what we have on the transfer market, Chelsea are going to sign Xavi Simons and most likely Alejandro Garnacho too, meaning that Nicolas Jackson, Liam Delap and João Pedro would have to fight for one spot, and that's the number 9 role. And that would be crazy and ridiculous, given that these are younger players who need playing time. Much as we are going to be involved in many competitions, this would never be a lesson to our squad. So one of the players would have to leave, and that was the player that was there initially. They wouldn't sell the players that have just come in. So Nicolas Jackson found himself in such a position. He has been fairly good to us because in just his 2 seasons, he has been hitting double figures. 14 goals in the first season and I think 7 assists, and then 10 goals in the second season with I think 6 assists. So 34 goal contributions for a striker who is fairly just adapting to a new role, because mainly he was used as a left winger at Villarreal, where we bought him for something like 30 to 35 million pounds. And when he came here after the injury to Christopher Nkunku, he was mainly utilized as a striker. So he was just adapting to a new league and also to a new position. But he did fairly well because his contribution was not just reflected on the number of goals he scored or the assists, but there is that kind of space and the way he drags off those strikers or his runs, and then is the way he interplays with his teammates, especially Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez, made them better. Nicolas Jackson really, when it comes to creating space and maybe assisting, he made Cole Palmer better, but the way he misses the chances he gives to him, maybe that's the way he let him down. Last season they just was it extended his contract, I think, to 2033, and you would expect him to stay, but they are now selling him. Of course, his value is high given that his numbers speak for themselves. So I think that's why the management is cashing out. Yeah, Nicolas Jackson might not develop or become clinical. His main weakness has been missing those simple chances where we just need to tap on to beat the goalkeeper, and maybe that might not be an attribute he might improve on that quickly, and I think that's why the board wants to cash out. The owners want out to cash out early. So Newcastle are interested, and they had been involved in this talk earlier on, but now that Isak wants to leave and they missed out on Benjamin Sesko, it's even more clear that they are going to really come in and bid for Nicolas Jackson. Of course, they have already shown that they have the money after they submitted a 90 million euros deal to Leipzig that was let down by Benjamin Sesko. So Chelsea now knows that they have the money. The initial fee Chelsea would want, of course, is 80 million pounds, but I think negotiations can occur, and maybe something like 65 plus add-ons will be enough to tempt the Chelsea owners to sell, given that we only spent about 30 something. So doubling the investment in just 2 years isn't something that bad, because Nicolas Jackson hasn't been on crazy wages, so it would be a win for Chelsea. So what do you think of this deal? And then, of course, my own worry is that our two new strikers in João Pedro and Liam Delap have been in the league, but they haven't done any better than Nicolas Jackson, to be honest. João Pedro has never scored more than 10 goals in a season. Last season he scored only 10. Similarly, Liam Delap scored 12, 2 of them being penalties. So you see that their figures are not any different from what Nicolas Jackson has had, but also for them they will have to adapt to the way Chelsea plays. They will have to adapt to the low blocks. When you're playing for Ipswich or Brighton, normally teams can attack you anyhow. For Chelsea, teams sit back and defend, and maybe they just catch you on the counter. So that's the main issue I'm maybe worried of. But other than that, João Pedro showed us what he can do. I think he's going to be our leading striker. And then if Liam Delap will have the competition that it takes. You saw him, he can take the shots unlike Jackson, and is strong. So I think we will go somewhere further. But if you really asked me the players that would leave Chelsea before the transfer began, I wouldn't have put Nicolas Jackson on that list because I saw he had some good in him. Of course, he showed some, should I say, reluctance in those two red cards he got against Newcastle and then against Flamingo. Yeah, we lost both games and that was really bad for him. And yeah, the decision has already been taken. Yeah, I think he shouldn't sit and be on the bench. Yet he has the opportunity to go somewhere and improves. I personally thought Manchester United, hadn't it been for their fans to let him down, would have been a better destination because they have two number 10s who would like to score in Mbuemo and Cunha, plus also Fernandez, Bruno. All these guys would take the pressure from him as for him he wins the balls and he creates space. But for Newcastle, maybe you will have to do the scoring and that will put more pressure on him. My good thing, Champions League is there at least for this season, and you're sure Newcastle will fight for European football, maybe not Champions League in the next seasons, but they will be at least around the top 7 teams, and you will be always guaranteed at least a place in the Europa League. But of course, we can't take away the negatives. It's been really not that clinical, and it cost us games, it cost us points. You remember against was it against Manchester City? We were 1-0 up. He gets a clear chance on Ederson, and you can't clear that. If the game goes 2-0, the story is different. But you recall Manchester were able to recover from that 1-0 deficit, and they defeated us 3-1. So all the best to Nicolas Jackson. I hope we get a better deal from him, and yeah, life moves on. All the best to him. Thank you.